get on the front foot
Don't wait.
and ask questions. Speak to your suppliers because they don't want you to go us up either. But if anybody's out there who's finding it hard and they've got a question they want to ask, send us a DM.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't need to be public. Like, we get a lot of private messages where people may feel embarrassed asking a question, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I've been in. I have had a failing business, and I know the pain.
It's also, it's like you said, we don't necessarily have all the answers.
No,
but we might be able to point you in the right direction for you. So, I think that's a thing. Like, so please, to the camera, if anyone has any questions, is in a bit of trouble, wants to look at their options,
even if they just want to vent.
Hello, TK.
Pete, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Happy day to you. Whatever day of the week it is, I got no idea what's going on.
You sound a bit feisty because I'm going through my camera.
I'm going to tell you why I'm sounding a bit feisty is because everyone's talking about AI, which is, whatever, that's fine. But I just don't think a good use of AI is one of our good friends and suppliers.
Yes, Travis, we're speaking about
Travis
you.
Watson is his name. He lives in Sunshine Beach. I won't
his
give
phone
you the
number
address, but somehow Travis last Sunday morning thought it was a really good use of his time and energy using all of the servers of ChatGPT or something to create an image of me without a beard.
It's such a beautiful chin.
Which is frightening because that is not my chin. I can guarantee
like
you it's not my chin. But Corey,
could have given you Nathan Cleary chin.
If you really want to be a dick, you can put the images up here, I suppose.
I do want to be a dick.
It's now Corey's backdrop on his phone.
It's like
I got a secret spot for it in my cupboard.
I get it. That's creepy, but I mean, it is
with some candles.
It is funny, but it's
inserted nursery rhyme here and be really fucked.
No,
little kid on a tricycle.
Don't stop. It's creepy. A clown maybe as well. So no, but it is really interesting because we're talking. AI comes up every second at the moment with different bits and pieces. You sent me something this morning about a robot dark factory just run by robots. You've showed me photos of guns on the back of robot dogs. It's frightening. But
robots making robots now.
I don't think it's
Whoever thought that was a good idea.
Has anyone not watched Terminator? Everyone just needs to watch Terminator. But it is funny that it's coming into everything. But also, Travis, stop. Stop, please. No good can come of this. No one is to see me without hair on my face. It's not a great look. So anyway, that's let's move on. I did want to start by talking about some stuff that's probably not it's not super positive, I suppose.
It's been a dark week, mate.
It's been a really dark week in hospo. More closures. There's more coming. We've had, certainly from a wine perspective, there's changes happening, massive changes at a clearly at a macro level within the industry that's now starting to affect the micro. What I mean by that is we've got this week Calabria Wines, basically, I'm going to say, I'm not sure what the term they actually use, but they've absorbed 2 different distribution companies or partnered with, however we want to say it. And the details are still sort of coming out. The changes aren't happening until April. But basically, there's one family-owned distribution company that has now bought 2 others. And that the original one, Calabria Estates, they're a producer as well. So they're basically creating this sort of super producer / wholesaler model. So they're putting basically 3 portfolios into one, which is...
Do you think it's a logistics problem or do you think it's just sales problem?
It's a sales problem, I would think, mainly because we know about the state of the industry in terms of the amount of wine we have sitting in tanks and in barrels, mainly in tanks, across the country.
Could be both as well because, mate, logistics... Speaking about people who've got to deliver stuff and just stop a car to deliver to a restaurant, the prices are ridiculous.
So expensive. And that's the thing. It's so there's going to be some economies of scale that will come into this business. But it is an interesting one. And I think it's one of those things where I deal heavily with one of the companies that's sort of in the mix and not the other 2 for kind of 2 different reasons. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see how that plays out. There's another distributor who's Sydney-based who's now... ceased operations in Queensland, so they're still selling out of Sydney, but they've got no one on the ground in Brisbane anymore. So that's sort of rattling a few people, I think, and a lot of people are going, well, what's next? There's another couple of rumours that are around there about a couple of other distributors that are probably getting close to
it's so sad.
Really looking at what they're doing. I know there's some big changes coming with a couple of some spirit businesses that are going to have huge changes coming up, which will affect a lot of people.
So if you're a restaurateur or a som listening to this, what are some of the things you should be? Is it something that they need to be careful of, or just keep an eye on it?
I don't know about careful. I think you just got to be aware.
Yeah.
Only because sometimes when things get bigger, they can get worse.
Yeah.
So people trying to be like one-stop shop, so you sort of lose that precision, sort of.
Yeah.
I suppose in terms of product selection and care and attention, when you've got to sell 1,000 SKUs versus you've got to sell 100.
Yeah.
So
I always thought about that when you got a portfolio that's got 100 different Shirazes.
Yeah.
50 of them from Barossa.
Yeah. Where do you start?
How do you do that fair and reasonably as a rep?
So certainly, well, I mean, what I used to do was basically, you'd sort of know your budget for that particular product each year. So like, each SKU has a budget for each rep. Simple as that. So it's like we've got, say, 100 dozen to sell for the state.
Yep.
Each territory will get given X amount.
Yep.
You've got to sell that.
Yeah.
I know when I was doing it, I was mainly looking at, we were trying to deal with the A grades, the high ends, that kind of stuff. So I sort of played in that field, which meant that I didn't sell some of the wines at the bottom end because my clients just didn't want them. Mm-hmm. But it is hard, and it's all about, I suppose, headspace. And that's the thing for the winery. They're like, well, why would I go into a portfolio with 100 other wines or 10 other Barossa Shiraz when I sell Barossa Shiraz?
And that'd be the first thing I ask.
Totally, but there's also... There is some benefits in it. That that style is slightly different. There's price points. There's sub-regionality. There's all these things that come into making the decisions. But that's where, again, we're talking at the pointy end for mum and dad kind of cafes in the burbs. They just want a Barossa Shiraz at a certain price point.
Yeah.
And that also is completely fine. Don't get me wrong. But it's about, for a winery, I'd want to make sure that the reps that are on the road for me have me at front of mind. And there's a few things they can do for that, making sure that there's always, there's sample stock available, that they've always tasted all the wines.
Yep.
You're in trade with them, supporting that, developing those relationships. That's why people do that. But it is hard when there's 1,000 of the same wines in the same portfolio. It's like, well, where do we start and where do we stop?
Yeah.
But, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday. It's like what we're going to do is get a distributor on here, a smaller distributor, maybe a state-based distributor. I've got someone in mind that we can have a bit of a chat about how they do it as well. So because I think it's an interesting sort of model, an interesting part of the business that no one really talks about, and certainly regular people probably aren't even aware of how that works and how it happens.
And I get asked, probably like yourself, on a weekly basis to do some consulting. And one of the things that I do before I start throwing around quotes to try and overhaul the business, I just ask a couple of key points and then just give some advice without having to even go face to face with them. One of the things is all around construction of wine lists. And I often say, if you just want a one-page wine list with 5 or 6 whites and 5 or 6 reds and a couple of fizzes, just go and choose one supplier, and they'll help you. They'll navigate your way through that. Yeah. Tell them what you want your margins to be, and let them do their homework, and they'll be able to help you. It'll be ridiculous to have 2 or 3 suppliers fighting for 8 SKUs. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you'll end up getting over-serviced if you do that.
Absolutely.
Which would be great.
And also you end up wasting time because you end up having to service the reps. Because they want your time, they want to sell you new things. And if you've got, we've got, I don't want to tell you how many suppliers we have across the business. It'll be similar to you guys.
But a lot of your wine lists are Bibles, but right?
No, not at all. Actually, there's only 2 over 200. Everything else is below 200 wines or 200 bins.
Yeah,
which
that's a lot.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah. It's not probably for the type of restaurants that you deal with, but for a cafe, it's
it's
a lot,
huge,
right?
absolutely. But you think about SK, they'd have 500 odd bins there.
And I look at what we started Market Bistro with and what there is now. Yeah. Just over time it changes and you just add a bin,
absolutely,
and
all of a sudden it's like, that's really good, we want to sell it. We've actually been doing the reverse with a couple of venues. We're going smaller for different reasons.
It's much easier to manage, but too, right?
It is, but it's harder to write.
Yeah, right.
It's way harder.
You've got to cover the bases.
It's just like, it's way harder to write a balanced small list than it is to write a big list. Because big lists are easy, and I will take that to the grave. It's so much easier to, when there's, the other thing is, obviously, smaller lists, generally you've got less budget, so you're trying to control that. For us, it's more about time.
Yeah.
So again, it's that time spent with reps. It's the time spent on the list. If we can keep it smaller and maybe a little bit more dynamic,
And really take note of what food's getting served if you've only
100%.
got a handful of wines. Right?
Correct, exactly. You've got nowhere to hide.
No,
So it's like you can't just have everything there. It's like,
Yep.
okay, we've only got space here for, let's say on a 100 bid wine list, you're going to break it down. You're probably going to have at least 10 sparkling, so that's that.
Yep.
You're going to have a couple of rosés, so 3 or 4 there, so that's, let's say 14 wines, a couple of ambers, let's say 18 wines, maybe 20 all up. So you've really only got 80 wines to cover on when it comes to still wine. Okay, so what does that mean? I've got 40 whites and 40 reds.
But then one question that echoed in my head this week, and I'm trying to figure out why. I said to Damo, "What's selling, mate? What's the driver?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Mate, I'm telling you, February has been Gamay." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
"What?"
Yeah,
And he
right.
goes, I know, but it's going bunter.
Yeah.
Not only in the restaurant, but also sales in the bottle shop. And I'm trying to figure out why. Whether something's happened with it, there's been an award or something like that, or
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's also maybe just that light red kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah,
because
maybe.
also
Bit of a tweak in season.
it's been a little bit cool the last
because
couple
I've
of days.
I've drunk a handful of reds in the last 6 months
Yeah.
because it's been so fucking
So
hot.
yeah.
You know.
But I think the thing is, again, it's time and a place. Like, you're not going to drink a massive Shiraz. Well, not actually, people do, but like Thursday
Generally,
afternoon
yeah.
for lunch, you're probably not going to pop a massive Shiraz. So it's like, what's something we can have? Gamay is great
Yeah.
because it has that sort of dubiness depending on where it's from. It's got crunch, it's got acidity. It's kind of, you can be quite sort of light and bright, but it also can be quite earthy and gamey and savoury. And so you've got this kind of spectrum even within this
Could
small
be the next
sort of field.
Chablis, mate.
I don't
People
think
just want to say Gamay.
Chablis is that's a
beast.
thing at the moment. It's quite remarkable to see, and I've done this for 800 years, so it's like it's just incredible to watch fashion and what changes and what's cool.
Rosé's had it for a long time now.
But it also didn't have it for so long. That's
so
the thing.
long. I remember back my very first restaurant. I reckon if we had one rosé, it would be a fucking miracle. And I still think the first bottle that we brought was still in the fridge when we sold the business.
And I think we've talked about this before. Back in Restaurant 2 days, we had 500 wines on the list. We had 2 rosés, and we didn't sell them. Like, no one wanted them. They just didn't want them. It's probably the most appropriate wine for Queensland ever.
So
a good rosé, that is. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just an interesting sort of time where this fashion stuff is happening. Like you see it in cocktails as well.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, everything was espresso martini.
Yeah.
It's not as heavy anymore, but it's still there. It's still everything now is margaritas. That. So it's like everything's about tequila. It's like, okay, and it's not about trying to pin the tail on the donkey and work out what the next thing is.
Did you guys do something for Margarita Day?
Kind of. We were doing a big event down the coast.
Oh,
So.
I tell you, like I was a bit skeptical because all these different days you go,
there's so many of
where
them.
do you stop?
Yeah.
But I asked Luke just to give me a couple of key data points on the sales over the National Margarita Day, and it's where is it? Luke Stringer, and it surprised the absolute shit out of me.
It's funny you say that because it was Sunday, right? So we were actually going to go out on Sunday and have a drink somewhere, and just to do something in the afternoon. And it's like, well, it's World Margarita Day, but we decided not to have a margarita. We went and had a beer instead.
So we sold 17 jugs of Sorry, I'll just stick to the margaritas. We sold 52 chili pickle margaritas, 48 mango mezcals, 59 classic margaritas, 17 devil's margaritas, and 31 Pellegrosses.
Yeah, right.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
If you think that margaritas aren't at the top of everybody's mind at the moment, and if you're watching this and you've got a cafe or restaurant, do yourself a favour and just put a margarita on. Anyone.
Or if you can't, get it. If you don't have the facility to make them, just buy the pre-mates.
Yeah,
get the stuff in cans. There's plenty of options. People will buy them.
Yeah.
We had a point. It's not as much anymore, but maybe a year ago, there was, let's say, the top 10 cocktails across the group. 7 out of 10 were a version of a margarita.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's just saying that you should, if you're really living and dying by the sword of give people what they want, you should have at least 2 or 3, if not 3 or 4 margaritas on the menu. Right?
You need a classic. You probably need a Tommy. I mean, Tommy's is easy anyway. But then I think you definitely need something. The spicy thing is just it's like it's a no-brainer. So if they're your 3,
to have a couple of derivatives, it's not
exactly.
like
it's not that hard.
You can use the same base. Same base tequila in all of them. Right?
Absolutely,
There's so many different different good ones that are affordable
Yeah,
now.
correct, absolutely. And then you've got the options of the slushies and that kind of stuff. We've had, I know the same, great success with putting, slushies
God.
in, margarita slushies are
Ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've said this before on the potty, but there's frozen margarita sales. The one frozen margarita, we had a spicy passion fruit margarita on it at Boca at Christmas time, and for the month of December, frozen passion fruit margarita sales paid our rent.
Yeah. And that's something, if people only pick up one thing out of this podcast ever, it's like, listen to your market.
Because the people will tell you, the amount of people that I've spoken to who own a venue or are a head bartender, and you talk about it and they go, I don't like tequila. It's like, it's not about you.
Yeah, 100%.
Listen to the customers.
Same conversation we always have. It's not about you. Get your ego out of the door.
How many times have you eaten in the restaurant?
Yeah.
And paid for it?
Yeah.
That should be the answer.
Exactly.
But mate, I do want to speak about these closures, because I think as sad as it is, there's reality out there, and there's probably people out there that are on the precipice and they don't know what to do next.
You mean operators?
Yeah, operators, and even staff, and because it's funny that when you're in a business that isn't going so well and it's not on track, there is a stench around it, and it's not something that can be ignored. And my advice to anyone has always been, if you find yourself in a position where you know that it's going awry, rather than wait, get on the front foot.
And so, what do you when you say get on the front foot? What are the things people can do, or should or can do to sort of and what we're looking at here is either limiting the damage, or potentially, what are the other options? I suppose.
My first and foremost conversation would always be, go straight to my accountant.
Yeah.
And block out maybe a couple of hours one morning and just really dig deep into your books.
Just know where you are.
Yeah, because they'll tell you if you need to stick your hand on the red button, or they'll help you a good accountant will help you try and get a plan.
Yeah.
Right. So, because the one thing you want to do is really prevent trading insolvently. Now, what I mean by trading insolvently is keep the doors open when you know you're not going to be able to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I think that there's far too many restaurateurs that do that. Then they find themselves in a hole where they can't dig themselves out of. The first things that get stopped are staff entitlements like superannuation and so forth. Now,
that's going to be a problem very soon for a lot of people.
I don't agree with many things that the government is doing right now, if anything. But the idea that they're going to introduce superannuation being paid weekly,
payday super,
I'm a fan of that.
Do you think that will have an impact on a lot of small?
Oh my God, mate!
Yeah,
you're adding 12%
to your costs.
Which are weekly.
I mean, they're there anyway, but they're not weekly.
When we moved all of our HR to a labour hire company to Govan, I remember it really, really well, because we only had Rice Boy and Spiro at the time, so 2 restaurants, roughly 100 staff, and the labour was probably, we were paying about, to use round numbers, about $100,000 a week, maybe a bit under.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, I need to find 10 grand.
Yeah.
So yes, it hurt me, because when you go to a labour hire company, I'm paying my super, work cover, holiday pay, sick pay. I pay that every week.
Yeah.
So the good bit about it, I call it compulsory savings. So for about 2 months, it was really tight.
Yeah.
Like, I had no cash flow, but it was fine. I just managed it really well.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got some trade up, got rolling, it's been great for me.
Yeah. Well, because you don't have that liability sitting there, right? Because it's off the books.
Yeah. If somebody, like, I know Mitch has got a bunch of annual leave.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason Mitch decided to go, it gives me chills thinking that. But if he does, then, and I've got to cut him a check for 10 grand, that money's already been paid and it's sitting in that bank account.
Yeah.
Because it's not mine.
No.
Now, I know that's really, really hard to do with a small business, but the trip to the accountant's going to highlight some of these areas. Now, if you find yourself well and truly in the shit,
and what is that like for you? What are the signs when you're really in the shit? What does that mean? Like,
mate, so speaking from absolute experience here. Now, what people don't understand, and I've had it more times than not, where people say, "Oh, you've got the Midas touch," and as much as it's really flattering, it's also frustrating, because I have had misses, like a lot of misses. Yeah. A fish and chip shop, which cost me 70 grand.
Yeah.
But one of the easiest ways to do it is have a look at, if you use Xero, which I recommend using Xero. No, that's not a sponsored post, but it's really good. Yeah. Like, only because for a nupty like me, I'm not an accountant, but I can navigate my way through it really, really easily. And you can set some parameters up where you can click on things, but it won't change the actual your settings on it.
So you can sort of pull some levers to sort of see
Just
what it
play
looks
with
like.
it. Yeah, without fucking up all your bookwork,
Yeah,
right? So, but go onto Zero File and just print out all your creditors. So every expense you have for the week that you've entered into Zero, and then have a look at your takings. Now, if you go 4 or 5 weeks where your expenses are higher than your takings, that is a fucking red flag.
Yeah.
Now, we monitor it weekly, and I would encourage every single restaurateur to do that because the hard bit about restaurants is that you've got good money coming in, but you've got big money going out. So the movement of cash is massive.
Yeah.
So it's so simple to go, my expenses this week, which include, in particular, food, beverage, labour.
Yep.
And I'd probably throw rent in there as well.
Yep.
Just that's one click of a mouse on your Zero File,
to bring it in,
and then it will spit you out a number, and then go to your till and go spit the number out X GST, and then if the numbers are close, you should be okay.
Yep.
But if your expenses are far outweighing your rent, then next week dig into it.
Yep.
The week after, now start to not panic, but go, I should be in front of my accountant.
Yeah.
And always try and do that before it gets too bad.
Yeah.
Because they can help you. They can trade you out of it. And there's no shame in it. There really isn't.
Yeah.
What the shame of it is when you stop paying people.
Yeah.
When you've got staff coming in, you stop paying their entitlements. When you're accepting product from people knowing very well that there's a fair chance that you're not going to be able to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, wine's a bit different because the stock will sit on the shelf.
It's not
and they can take it back.
Yeah.
But if I order some fish off my fishmonger with the idea that there's a fair chance I'm not going to be able to pay that bill, then that's not okay.
Yeah.
So the hard bit is to navigate your way through that.
Yep.
Now, there's a couple of levers you can pull before you go, well, I'm going bankrupt, right?
Yep.
Now, I hope that I never have to speak to Worrells outside of a charity lunch or something like that. But the Worrells facility here on the Sunshine Coast is an insolvency firm, which is unbelievably good. Now, they help people when they're not fucked as well.
Yeah.
They help
So before,
Yeah. So you can put a business into voluntary administration, which means you're handing the reins over to
someone else,
like Worrells,
Yeah.
and they will manage your business for you, or manage that business out of the shit.
Yeah.
Or they'll analyze it and go, no,
We're done. Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah.
Now, I would advise you to do that really, really quickly.
And I suppose what should people be looking for? Obviously, because Worrells aren't everywhere necessarily. Obviously, they are a fair bit, but
they really are. But your
that
accountant,
kind of
your
advisory.
accountant will certainly be able to, And I always like to go somewhere local because they've got a real good understanding for that.
For the market.
Yeah, but I always do know that, so they should be, that those types of people and those accountants in those types of areas are very conservative.
Yeah.
So, which they
That's
probably
there,
should be, right?
Yeah.
But if you go there, at least hopefully you're not going to get yourself so far in the shit that you're going to really hurt other people as well.
So I think that's a really big thing, is that if you see the writing on the wall, don't wait.
Yep.
Get in front of a professional as quickly as you possibly can.
Yep.
And it's hard though at that point in time as well, because I don't have any money and I've got to go pay money to go and see someone. But that money could be very well spent.
Oh my God.
It could stop you from going down where you think you are. You might be in a better position. You might be in a worse position.
Yeah.
But if you don't really know.
And I'd always start with being on the front foot with your landlord as well.
Yeah.
Because something as simple as going, well, go to your landlord and go, look, I'm in the shit here.
Yeah.
The landlord might be okay with you going half rent for a while. They might go, look, I'll give you a couple of months rent free.
Yeah.
They'll just tack that couple of months onto the back end of your lease.
Yeah.
So there is some. That's why I want before I sign a lease, I want to know who the landlord is.
So you can have those conversations potentially.
Some people like Lend Lease will not do that.
Yeah.
They're just too big. You're just a number.
Yeah.
But if you're a mum and dad business, like I own Udlo General Store freehold. Now, if they were in the shit, rather than see him go broke and then now I've got a shop that's not paying any rent, I'll go, well, let's figure it out. I'll go there. I want to see some figures so he's just not ripping the piss. But I'll help him get a plan.
Yeah.
Now, if the plan is a bit of support with the rent
from your end,
I'd much rather that than have a shop that's not trading.
Yeah.
So I would heavily advise that. Then go to your suppliers and say, hey, listen, cash flow is a bit tight at the moment. Can we do this? And there's different payment plans.
Terms? Can we go on a weekly number?
Yeah. And then same with the ATO.
Yeah.
Now there's all types of things you can do with the ATO.
Yeah.
Now the ATO had a big plan post-COVID where you could run up a bill under $1 million and basically sweep
They
it. Now,
wouldn't touch you.
there's a part of me that's like, what most people would generally do is just not pay their BAS.
Yeah.
Like, so it's basically a tax bill that's
Yeah.
not getting paid. And so long as it's under $1 million, there's a multitude of people that have done it right, that have racked up tax bills up to $998,000.
Yeah.
And then they've had to pay back 15 cents in the dollar over years
Yeah.
to get themselves out of the shit.
Yeah.
So there's stuff you can do, but you don't know what you can do until you put your hand up and go, I need some help. Now, I'm not an accountant.
Yeah.
But the advice that I always give people is speak to those people that do know, because they know a lot more. There's so many different ways you can skin a cat in this game, but you can't stick your head in the sand.
Yeah.
Now, I see all these closures. As sad as it is, there is a bit of natural attrition that goes on as well.
Yeah.
We've seen so many restaurants open as well post-COVID.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel that there's a bit of a coming to Jesus moment.
You think it's almost a little bit of a like a balancing in the
Reset
market kind of thing? Yeah.
But mate, you've seen it as well, man. Every year, straight after Christmas, it's like people hold on until Christmas, thinking
that's going to survive. Yeah.
that's going to be the golden spear,
Yeah.
and it falls short, and then it's not even quiet now. This is not the quiet time.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, that said, and we've talked about this, I think, already this year. But that the handbrake this year in the middle of January was probably the most significant I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In terms of people just go, and we're not going out now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of restaurants where you chat to people, as I do, and everyone's in a similar boat.
Yeah.
No one's like, fuck yeah, I bought a new fucking car, or I did this. Everyone's like, holy shit, we're just hanging on here.
Yeah.
We just need to get through this.
We had a bit of a spike in the last couple of weeks with things like Valentine's Day, but that masks the fact that it's quiet. And
it's like a false economy, though.
For the Sunshine Coast, I can tell you inadvertently, it's from Mother's Day until the June, July school holidays. That's our quiet time. As soon as you got to go looking for a cardigan or a jumper, where
it is weird, isn't it? Here that it's just the second it gets below 24 degrees,
Yeah.
everyone's
Fuck,
like,
can't
shit,
go out,
put
snowing.
the fire on. It's just like
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, no, I suppose it's one of those things though as well that. I think there is those sort of classic times of the year, and I think, like you said, it's just that silver bullet. People go, "Oh no, we're going to be okay." We get to December, we're going to be okay. But December just again masks things a little bit, might give you a little bit of runway. But it's just trying to, I suppose, even things out across the year, where you don't want those big spikes and the big drops.
And just little things like get in contact with your gas supplier, your electricity supplier, and go month to month rather than quarterly.
Yeah.
Because
break up the bills.
I don't know how many people I know have just traded through Christmas and then suddenly they've got a quarterly electricity bill and it's fucking $15,000.
Yeah.
At least month to month, you can manage it. Now, I know the second you change, it's going to hurt you because you're going to pay a big bill, then 4 weeks later you're going to pay another one.
Yeah.
But it's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain because by the time you get to this stage next year, your cash flow is going to be a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that idea of cash flow. And every business does it differently, but just that you kind of know what you're doing most weeks. You know what the numbers are going to be, or roughly. So you can kind of work out based on your percentages what you're going to spend.
Yep.
And then it's about sticking to those budgets and keeping everything as tight as possible, because it's almost at this time of the year as well when maybe the amount of people coming in the door aren't as busy. Everyone's doing planning and everything else, but it's not necessarily efficient. Like you're not working in the business, you're trying to work on the business, and it's a weird time of the year to be doing that because it's quiet enough that you can do it, but you kind of should be in the business as well because you need to save labor.
Yeah.
So there's this, I think for owner operators, it's tough.
It's tough
because you're riding this kind of knife edge the whole time, particularly at this time of the year. The other thing is, that idea of purchasing, and something that we tried sort of last year, which is working out okay, is like we came into December stocked, so that our November bills, which you're paying with December revenue, are good, and then your December bills are a little bit less, so that when you start and you have to pay them with January revenue, it's not as bad. And that sort of just took a little bit of an edge off, but it's one of those things where it's like trying to work out the cycle of what you're doing.
Because we find the hard bit is January's our busiest month.
Yeah.
And then February's quiet.
Yeah.
So you get February's bills at the end.
Exactly
it's
right.
like,
so that's the thing, is if you go in heavy stock-wise, you've just got a little bit of a buffer.
Yep.
The other thing is, and a friend did this in a business recently, which I was like, well, that's actually an interesting way to look at it. They have an agreement with a supplier for bonus stock, and so they took all of their bonus stock in December. So they had 0 bills from that one supplier.
So they're breathing room.
And it's a major supplier.
Yeah.
So, and it's a product where the revenue on it is high, sort of that 150 plus. It's a champagne.
Yep.
So you're looking at probably $150 to $200 a bottle. And they didn't buy one bottle across the group in December. So it's like, and I'm thinking, geez, that's genius.
Yeah, you've just jammed $20,000 or $30,000 in your bank.
Straight in the pocket,
Yeah.
So it's like just pure profit because
will help pay the other bills
Absolutely.
that is going to come.
And that's a big number. It's a big business and da-da-da. But you can do that on a smaller level.
Yeah, well, anything helps, right?
Absolutely. And, again, go to your suppliers and go, what can you do for us? How do we work on this together? What are some things we can do? And I think that idea of, discounts versus bonus stock and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm always now, it's like, I want the cheapest possible price. I don't want any bonuses. I don't want any rebates. I don't want anything else. I just want the best price because I want to make margin on it.
And you can manage it way easier with all these other fucking things coming in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the moral of the story, I believe, is that don't shit the bed. Get on the front foot and ask questions. Speak to your suppliers because they don't want you to go ass up either. But if anybody's out there who's finding it hard and they've got a question that they want to ask, send us a DM.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't need to be public. Like, we get a lot of private messages where people may feel embarrassed asking a question, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Absolutely.
I have had a failing business and I know the pain.
It's also, it's like you said, we don't necessarily have all the answers.
No,
but we might be able to point you in the right direction for you. So, I think that's a thing. Like, so please, to the camera, if anyone has any questions, is in a bit of trouble, wants to look at their options,
even if they just want to vent, because that monetary stress will kill you so fast.
Yeah,
like there's something about it. It's fucking horrible.
It's interesting. Actually, speaking of messages, I actually had a message yesterday. So I'm gonna. That was really bad. I don't know how I just didn't work out how to take my glasses off. This is from someone who used to work in a venue that I worked with, and he basically it's really interesting. He said, his comments are, the industry is going to shit, and I could go on and on. Starting from lazy managers who think they're so good they don't have to be on the floor, chefs thinking they are the best and don't make mistakes, waiters who can't handle 3 tables. And not to mention owners who make money but are so long gone, living in denial and losing the sight of what really hospitality means. There's so much more. And he's just saying there is so much. I promise myself to stand as guardian of hospitality and do not back off. You can run a venue with kindness, rules, positive behaviour and general good vibe where staff and guests want to come back. The day I lose the drive, I will leave the industry. I won't damage it by becoming a muppet. And it's like, that's like,
powerful.
Yeah, it's a big message. And it's like, I think... The other thing is that there are people out there that care.
Yeah.
Like, they do give a shit, and it's not just about trying to make necessarily $1 million. That's not what it is. There is a core of a lot of people in our industry that just want people to have a good time.
And the hard bit, mate, is I think that a lot of people, when things are getting tough, they don't want to put their hand up because they feel the shame of it.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things that I find really gross is if the media get hold of a closure and they announce it, which they've got a right to do that, obviously, because you can't call on them to promote your business and then call them a fucking arsehole because
they're reporting on the closure.
Right. So, but don't pile on.
Yeah.
Like, not every business that closes don't pay their staff properly.
Exactly.
There's a lot of businesses that close that do the right thing.
Yeah.
And the owners may have lost their house.
Yeah.
Or they can't now send their kids to school, or they and then some of these, like the Adrian Richardson thing, like he that poor bastard. And I know, yes, celebrity chef. I don't think the guy's got $1 billion in the bank.
No.
Like, and some of the messages. Now, I've met Adrian a few times. He's a lovely guy. My interactions with him, he's a gentleman, right? And he's a fucking really good cook. And the Australian food scene owes a lot to his restaurant in Melbourne when it was trading, because it was there for 20 years, right? But what I fail to understand is what good can come of just absolutely taking the guy to task. Now, I know that he blamed the tax department, and it's when you've got a failing business, and I can speak very freely from my experience, is you just want to blame somebody that's not yourself.
Of course.
Because you want to save face.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that that's what Adrian was doing by blaming the tax department and all. What he stated, I'm assuming, is what made it very challenging for him to do business. And when you have to close the business, that's really hard to do. Now, no doubt, from some of the comments that I read, there's some people saying they didn't contact the staff. I don't know anything about that, so I can't comment on it.
Yep.
But in general, like there's been a couple of closes on the Sunshine Coast, and fuck, people are really mean.
Yeah.
The way they pile on,
Yeah.
it's like, and yeah, I'm not saying, look, what good can come of that?
Absolutely. It's wasted energy.
It's really poisonous.
Yeah, it
you
is.
Know what
and
I mean?
it's so negative when, like you said.
These people had a crack.
Absolutely. And it's not, one of the big things to me is that it's that human toll of, the restaurant owner, they've done their dough, but the 40 or 50, 30, 20, whatever employees that work for them, they're now out of a job.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of single income families now, so now there's no income going into that family. It's like these are real problems that these people, and particularly like if they didn't know or they didn't see it, for whatever reason, because some people just don't. They're not privy to the finances.
And I want to really say that there is businesses out there to do the wrong thing, and I get, these people taking to task. I totally get that, but it's not all the case.
No, And I also think that, as I said, it is wasted energy shit canning something that's already dead.
Yeah.
Like it's literally flogging a dead horse. It's like, why are we doing that? What's the point?
And I think some of these staff got to take ownership as well, because what I used to do when I was working for people is every week when I got my pay slip, I'd just check to make sure my super got paid.
Yeah.
And they're things that you can do. So take a bit of fucking ownership. Don't work somewhere for 5 years,
Yeah.
not look at your super,
Yeah.
and then go, you fucking haven't paid my super. Because after 1 month, I can tell you if you've paid my super or
Yeah,
not. So
absolutely.
then I'm asking you politely,
Yeah.
hey, Pete,
Yeah.
can you explain to me how come my super hasn't been paid?
And I suppose that's the thing with payday super is that won't happen anymore because it's like it's
have no
in
choice.
there. You'll know it week by week.
And One Touch Payroll fixed a lot of that,
Yeah.
but people don't understand that.
Yeah.
But get on the front foot and ask as well.
Yeah.
If you're an employee and something's gone awry, haven't been paid I usually get paid on Tuesday, and now it's Thursday. It's
Yeah.
like, just ask,
Yeah.
politely ask,
Yeah.
because it could be very fucking sensitive,
Absolutely.
right? But you've got a right to ask that question,
course.
but don't stick your head in the sand and then complain about it fucking 8 months after the fact.
Well, I had a friend who got paid late 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and was like, "Should I ask something? Should I ask a question?" I was like, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
I'd be asking. And the thing is, certainly in any business I've ever been involved in, if anyone's paid a day late, there is fucking mutiny. Because fair enough, because people have everything scheduled around that day. It's like you get paid on a Tuesday, like it's 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. It drops in the account.
And I
Fine, that's
reckon
what it is.
90% of people at the moment are on week to week.
Totally.
So
absolutely.
I understand that.
I think that's the thing is that's just where the world is at. I think for a lot of people, and it's like. No one's putting away 20% of their pay every week for savings. It's just like that's almost impossible these days. So, it's just I think again we get back to that everything's expensive kind of thing. It's just it makes it hard. But I think one of the big things is that there is going to be more of these as well. And I said it like a few months ago. I think to a couple of people, I was like, I think this is going to be the year. Yeah, because I think the ATO has definitely gone into hardcore mode when it comes to debt recovery.
Yeah.
So that will crush people. And there'll be businesses, ABN users that will struggle.
Mate, one of the things that what my accountant and I do religiously, and that is she sends me a BAS schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're anticipating what your BAS is going to be, sometimes 12 months out, obviously it's not wholly accurate, but we try and adjust and tweak and monitor it as we go.
The more accurate it's going to be, right?
Correct. But I know, and it's sitting on my desk in my office, every date that the BAS has to be paid, and roughly what we forecast that figure to be.
Yeah.
So I'm not sitting back on my computer looking at my creditors list of my wine suppliers, my beer suppliers, my food suppliers. I'm also looking at my BAS.
Yeah.
So then I'm anticipating what needs to come out of the bank at what particular time.
Yeah.
Now, yes, it's one more step, but it just means there's no surprises.
Yeah.
Sometimes we always urge on the side of caution. So if we think my BAS bill is going to be $5,000, we say it's going to be $7,000.
Yeah.
And then we adjust it along the way. But if we then budget a little bit more than what's needed, it's such a great surprise.
Yeah.
And it's such a great surprise that it's better than what we thought.
Yeah.
So at least we're not sticking our head in the sand, or if you get in the shit and I know that the BAS payment's going to be late, I'll ring the ATO.
Yeah.
And I'll go.
And how are they in those sort of situations?
Mate, nobody wants to get told they're not going to get paid,
Sure.
right? But that they want to know that. And I believe, I can only speak on my behalf, that they've always been willing to work with you.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard. Now, we fortunately we haven't been in that situation for a long time, but I have heard that they're getting tighter with it.
They really are.
So-
I can tell you right now that I know that that's a thing. I've had people tell me recently that they're.
I've heard that they've said
it's
no.
It's just ramped up. There's
But-
things that they used to do that they're no longer doing.
One of the things I have been told as well, but is they're far more willing to work with you if you ring
Yeah.
than
They
your
ring.
accountant.
Yeah. Right. Oh, really?
But what I like to do is have your accountant ring and say that you're going to ring.
yeah.
So they know that you're speaking to the accountant,
Yeah.
and the process is getting managed appropriately.
Yeah.
So, and try different things. The only thing you shouldn't do is not try,
Yeah.
which so many people do. They just don't fucking pay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
can I just ask about that BAS schedule?
Yep.
So rather than taking 10% off the top line,
We do that,
yeah.
but we still got to pay BAS, right?
It's just being aware of when it's coming and how much.
when BAS is due.
Yeah, okay. But like when you're saying like you might accidentally put too much away.
Oh, well, I'm talking about BAS is made up of a couple of different things, but we
Right.
try, and you don't know what your revenue is going to be.
Yeah.
So you got to guess.
Yeah.
But over the years, you get pretty close to it.
And are you comparing it with like last year or
Yeah.
the past 2 years or?
Well, we go last year plus growth.
And does zero help with that averaging?
Well, it gives you current data,
Yeah.
but it won't help you with a forecast. But
Right.
you know your business. So what I always go for our business here, when we do, like, I'll start doing budgets probably the end of March. So we've got 9 businesses, so I've got to do budgets for 9 of them. So it takes a long time. But basically all I'm trying to do is look at my current year to date, and then go, what are these bills that are going to go up? Well, I know my rent's going up by CPI.
Yeah.
I know that my food the cost of my product might go up a little bit. I know my rent will go up. There's things in there that is going to increase in price. So all we try and do is go, have we got 10% growth
Yeah.
as far as revenue is concerned in us? Now, I always say, if you're not growing by 10%, you're actually going backwards.
Yeah.
So at a bare minimum, we add 10% to our year on year. So
Yeah.
then we look at the revenue in March and we go, this year it's got to be 10% more than last year. So that's kind of how we budget for
Right, okay.
our BAS.
So March starts the planning for the next financial year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right.
I'm looking at February now. February, in some of our restaurants, we didn't see any growth. So we've forecasted for a 10% growth in February for our BAS. So I'm hoping that there'll be a little bit of fat
Yeah.
that I'll have up my sleeve.
I don't think it's that adjusting thing, because it's
Yeah.
like you can forecast, but if it's up or down, you need to adjust.
Oh, you have to,
And,
yeah.
And up is easy because you
Yeah.
just got to buy more stuff and everything else. But down is like that's where people don't, and
No.
if they don't adjust quickly enough, and this is where like you're saying, looking at the weeklies are important, because if you don't look at the weeklies, you don't adjust, and all of a sudden, if you're doing monthly or quarterly reports, all of a sudden it's like it's gone. The ship's sailed. Like the damage is
Just
done.
wake up early on a Monday morning, make it ritual, go in, make yourself a coffee or a tea, sit down, open your laptop up and have a look at Xero, have a look at your takings, and really have a real good look at what happened last week.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to, for another 10 minutes, have a look at where you're sitting for the month.
Yeah.
Even if it's the second week of the
Yep.
month, just
see where you're tracking.
Yeah, and it's
then again, you
important.
can make decisions about, okay, we need to activate some things
Yeah.
or do something to, because we're going to be a bit shy of what we
Yeah.
thought, or the other way around, pull the levers the other way.
Yeah.
Go, okay, we need to cut some staff, we need to do those things. So it's
Hey, chef.
those little adjustments that need to be made.
Last week was real quiet. What I want to do is dig deep. What's in the freezer?
Yeah.
What's in the fridge?
Yeah.
Rather than buying more stuff in for specials, let's look at what we've got.
Yeah.
Because you can make something out of nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that you can't make a focaccia and do a steak sandwich for a special. You don't buying
Yeah.
any ingredients extra, and everyone's got flour, yeast, and sugar.
The one thing that's going to stop that is ego.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single time. I don't want to change.
Yep.
Okay. The market's telling you to change.
Yep.
The numbers are telling you to change, and you don't want to change, then that's on you.
People, when they talk about, in particular, probably RB, which was a fail, and also the fish and chip shop, which was salt water, and they go, "Oh, what happened? We just weren't good enough." Like the now, if you ate at RB, it was so fucking good, but not enough people thought that.
Yeah.
So either we continue to lose money, or we go, well, we can make more money with less effort and turn it into a function room. So that's
Yeah.
what we did. Fish and chips. I'm not good enough in my current field of trade to sell such a low margin, low revenue product
Yeah.
and make money.
Yeah.
I just tried my best.
Yeah,
I
it's just not there.
wasn't good enough.
I think it also comes down to timing.
Yeah, but there's no shame in that.
There is though. If because people have ego,
Yeah.
and so the shame is that it's an internal shame. It's not like everyone's going, "Oh, fuck you." It's just like I feel bad because I didn't get it right or I failed or whatever it may be, and that's something that people have to wrestle with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But I think that again, it's that admission of what, this isn't working.
Yep.
So we have options at this point in time. We either pivot, to use the word of 2020, or you change the offering completely. Have a crack at something else. If that doesn't work,
it doesn't need to be dramatic. You don't need to tip it on its head, but just gradually ratchet some change and just see how the customers do it.
Try things. You know what? We're going to put a special on of this. Holy shit, that went really well. Maybe we need to lean into that. Whatever it may be, whether it's food, drink, whatever. But the numbers are there, the data's there. You just got to be able to listen to it and just take away your ego. I think that's a big thing, because people just will not change and they'll just ride it to the end. And it's like, well, it's going to be a one-way trip.
Yeah, and try desperately hard not to take a bunch of people with you. And because if you do stick your head in the sand, that's when it gets real ugly.
Yeah.
And there's no good that can come of that.
No, that's right. But I also think as well, like sometimes that just happens. And like, again, if you've done it, there's going to be a point where you have to admit it.
Yep.
And go, okay, I'm going to draw a line in the sand here. I've fucked up. I haven't done this, or I did do this or whatever. Now I've got to deal with those consequences, whatever they may be. But, and for most people, that's going to be a tough conversation internally or whatever. But it's going to happen at one point in time. And if you don't, then everything's going to get bigger. There's a massive sign in Brisbane on the Ivory Street Tunnel when you come off the Story Bridge, and on that writing, it's been there for 20 years. It said, "The more I think about it, the bigger it gets."
How good.
And it's just
such a
true simple
statement.
thing, but it's just like, well, yeah, but then you're building it bigger than what it might actually be. Whereas if you just have the conversation.
And mate, I tell you, and I've had to do this so many times, is pick the phone up and phone your rep, or phone the owner of the company if it's a small business and you know them, and just go to them hat in hand and talk to them.
Yeah.
Because you think that what they're going to do is blow up.
Yeah.
But they're so appreciative.
Well, because at the end of the day, they want to see the money at some point in time, and if they don't help, then they mightn't see anything.
And I remember during COVID times making a phone call to Lion Nathan, massive company, right, and also Red and White, and saying, "I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
But what I will do is every single week, I'll ring you and I'll tell you how much money I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be what you want,
Yeah.
but it'll be
But
something.
it's something, yeah.
And I'll continue to do that until we get on the other side of this.
Yeah.
And they were so appreciative.
Yeah.
Even to the stage where sometimes they said, "Don't pay."
Yeah.
Because it's more important for us that you
Continue
get
to
out of
trade.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't put yourself in the shit and under too much pressure.
Yeah.
But we anything you can give us, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
But just talk to us.
Absolutely. And I think that's the big thing for everyone.
By making that phone call, it felt like an elephant got off my back. And I'm like, I'm not in this on my own.
Yeah.
These suppliers want me to trade out of
Absolutely.
it. So
Because
don't think that they're your enemy.
No.
They're your enemy if you don't pick the phone up and you don't pay your fucking
Or you
bills back.
don't answer the call, don't answer the email. And, that's the thing. If they're not hearing anything, they're going to assume the worst. It's as simple as that. They're going, well, this is going down.
You've been on the end of being the restaurateur, but you've also been on the other end of it being a supplier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I've had to go in and pull wine out of people's restaurants.
And that's not right. Nobody likes it.
It's horrible, but it's also. I remember once it was actually a good thing, because it's like, you don't owe this money anymore. We're just taking this back.
No harm, no foul for you.
It's okay.
You went and sold it again, right?
Correct. Exactly. Or whatever. There's things that you can do. But I know recently I've heard of a restaurant that was closing. They clearly knew they were going to close, or they were told they were going to close, and then the chefs are just in there drinking the beer lines empty.
Yeah. So
it's like,
then they deserve what's coming to them.
Right. And then everything's been ripped out of the venue. All the stock's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, hang on a second. So now it's like that's going the wrong way. That's doing the wrong thing.
Mate, every single time we've had to close a business, we clean it, we do everything we have to do, we get the landlords involved.
Yeah.
When we hand the keys over, we try and explain to the landlords that somebody can come in here and just turn the key and open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really sorry that I owe you money, and I'm really sorry that this didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I've never walked away from it with debt on the table.
Yeah.
I've made sure that we've somehow managed to clear that debt.
What about the lease?
Yeah, it depends on what your lease is, but like there's some leases out there that with some of these big guys, mate. But we've had podcasts where we talk about before you sign,
get
some good
advice.
legal advice.
Yeah.
And even if you say you can't afford a lawyer, if you can't afford a lawyer, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, don't go into
Or at the
business.
very least, if you're going into business, you would know somebody that's in business.
Yeah.
Get them to take a look at the lease.
Yeah.
Because the lease will be the holy grail of things that will either protect you or smash you.
Yeah, and it can smash you for a long time and for a very big number.
Personal guarantees are like Satan.
Yeah.
But I'm finding with more and more leases that they're not asking for them. They're just asking for more of a security deposit. So they're going to have some of your skin in the game anyway. So they might, if you look, I know here at Market Bistro we've got 6 months worth of rent, which was part of we needed to budget for that. It's a big expense.
Yeah.
But the landlord's got that in the bank.
Yeah.
As a bank guarantee, right?
And what happens with that? Like, let's say, for example, you sell. Well, the lease is part of that, right? So then does that become...
If I sell... So when you sell a business, you need to say, if you want to buy Market Bistro, then when we assign the lease to you, before you actually make the transaction of the sale, now I don't want to cock this up, but the landlord needs to approve the incoming buyer.
Yep.
Now, if they say no, there has to be a legitimate reason why. Now, if this building here was $1 million a year in rent, and you're an inexperienced operator, they may ask you for a bank statement.
Yep.
Now, they may say, look, we'll agree on the terms that you've got a 6-month bank guarantee.
Yep.
Pete's going to need a 12-month.
Right.
But they may do that.
Yeah.
They may not.
Yeah.
But if they say no, which they can,
yeah,
it just needs to be a legitimate reason why.
So where does that sit? That's an asset.
It sits in a trust.
Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't go into the landlord's bank account.
Yeah.
Because when you sell, like if you were to buy a Market Bistro office, I'll get my money back.
Yeah.
So it's compulsory saving.
Yeah.
Or you might, if there's money owed, like you might leave and there might be a
couple
month's
rent
worth
or whatever.
or a month's rent,
Yeah.
then you just take it out of the bond.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to pay it.
Did you see? Where was it? I'm trying to work it. It was a European country, and I can't remember which one it was. But a W hotel has been. I think it's a W. W is Marriott, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Marriott brought.
So
Sheraton.
The operator. Yeah, the operator has been removed from the building.
Oh wow.
So they haven't paid their rent for 3 years. And so everyone's trying to distance themselves for everything, but basically there's a very beautiful hotel sitting in the middle of, I can't remember where it is. Anyway, can you have a quick look, Corey, see if you can find that? It's like W Hotel closure.
W's been taken to task a little bit because they're tweaking their brand.
Right.
It used to be the cool
standards,
brand.
Yeah.
The W. So if you look at the Sheraton model, each of their brands represents a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the W was always tattoos, cool.
Yeah.
Bright pink and purple, and
Yeah.
it's a bit edgy.
Amsterdam. There we go.
So a bit edgy, but
yeah,
they're tweaking it.
Is there like a tagline there you can read that makes sort of maybe explains that a little bit more?
W Hotel Amsterdam faces eviction after not paying rent for 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow. How does that happen?
That's what I mean. How does an owner of a hotel let that happen?
Maybe we need to get my landlord on here and ask if I didn't pay rent for
What happens
3
if I don't pay for 3? I mean, that's...
I reckon after...
What happens if you didn't pay for 2 months?
Yeah, well, mate.
That's the thing.
I don't pay after, literally on the week of the 4th week of the month, I'm getting a phone call.
Yeah, of course. And I would imagine most people are. That's the thing. It's like, how... I mean, do they just go, they're so big,
There has to be something.
There's something going
on there.
But that's, 3 years of no rent. Anyway, but that's
They're
the thing.
Trying to find new operators.
Yeah, no
right
shit.
now.
I bet they are. But that's the thing. It's like this is happening across the board. This is not just restaurants, it's not cafes. It's every single business on the planet. I think. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, yesterday, did you see the closures of a big business in Sydney, based in it's international business. I think it's based in Sydney. I can't remember the name of it. They're letting go of 2,000 employees. And it's like
what sort of business?
1,000 employees. It's
manufacturing.
No. It's data. It's oh God, what's the name of it? Anyway, but it's one of those things where they're like, we don't need these roles anymore. AI.
I did see that.
Yeah, and it's like, holy shit.
Amazon last week.
They lost people as well.
No, don't quote me on this. Maybe Corey could have a look at that as well. But it was 100. I want to say it was 100,000 people in America. A lot.
That's a lot.
Amazon made redundancies in Amazon for AI.
BHP made redundancies last week.
Yeah, but some we've got a work cover claim at the moment coming through, which is just taking up so much more time for heavy lifting, and AI is going to take all that out. Can you imagine an Amazon factory?
Yeah,
16,000.
16,000. There you go.
Where Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon accidentally announces further 16,000 layoffs in AI pivot. This was published this is published in January.
How do you accidentally lose 16,000?
No, they accidentally leaked it.
Oh.
But And this has been just an ongoing thing for me with wages. The wage increases, which I'm all over. Everybody should have a fair crack. Get out there and educate yourself so you can earn $1 million a year. I'm all over that. But as soon as you start throwing work cover claims and higher wages and all the rest of it, all you're doing is driving that up even faster.
Yeah.
So you can imagine. I can only imagine how many work cover claims in an Amazon warehouse where you've got to be lifting boxes all day, every day.
Jesus, yeah.
Fuck, it'd be monstrous.
Yeah, that's when it's like, get me the robots now.
It would. The saving would be crazy,
and as if they're not planning that.
It'd be safe. It's safer to do that because you can't lift. Like, I fucking just don't know.
It's 9
7
kilos.
So our recommendation now is 7 kilos.
Yeah. Well, I know that's one of the reasons why a lot of suppliers in Australia, I think we've talked about this before, moved to 6-packs, because the big boys, Coles and Woolies, said we can't. That basically, if someone can't lift a full carton of wine, 12 bottles, unassisted.
And that is what's wrong with the world.
I do remember having 3 cartons of wine, Rosemount Melon Creek Chardonnay, when we opened Watt at the Powerhouse in 2001. And I was carrying 3 cartons of Rosemount Melon Creek out of our storage shed where we had this pallet that we'd bought for like $4 a bottle. And I tripped over the plastic pallet wrap as I was getting off the pallet and lost 32 of the 36 bottles.
Tweaked your back, but you got your eyebrows a bit slouched there. Maybe you could go back and tear them up.
I was fine. Now I can't sit down for more than 20 minutes without pain, but maybe there is something in that. But it's like, Jesus, we just did these things. It's just like, what do you do? But now it's like a 6-pack, that's the most you can lift.
But
it's like,
don't jump on board with this and then think that you're not aiding and assisting the development of these fucking robots to come in and do your job.
Exactly.
Like, it's happening every fucking day.
And I think that's the thing is that you look at any industry and you go to anyone, and probably restaurants more than a lot, and go, would you like to save a few bucks in labour costs?
Fuck.
The answer is yes, 1,000 times over. Like, how do I do it?
The purchasing of pre-made products is the absolute cornerstone of that, because it's like anything you can do to reduce labour.
Yeah. Well, it's like PC. Like if you start ordering portion control steaks and portion control things where it's like it's already done.
It happened in the early 2000s with sauces. More and more people started to buy packet sauces. More and more people. I would suggest that there is way, way, way more people now that are buying in beef stock and veal stock and fish stock and chicken stock.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the base stock.
Yeah.
And then making a jus or a demi-glace from that.
But the other thing is, like in 20 years, those like from back then to now, those products that you can buy are awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it used to be like it was the the Maggi cubes or whatever it may be. Now it's like this
Jello.
Is proper stock. Like is like you could hardly do better yourself.
The stocks are made. Some of these, to pick your company, but some of these stocks that are made are exactly the same as what you'd make in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then you're getting a stock, and then all you have to do is finish it.
Yeah.
So I'm not frowning upon it.
Yeah.
But that it's exactly what we're talking about.
But it is also that. Oh, it's not quite. It's not quite authentic.
It's hard because it's. I look at it from a training perspective of our youth. Like, one of the things that we see is we've got students who go to TAFE, and the TAFE kids aren't exposed to any stocks in their workplace anymore.
It's one of those things.
It's fundamental.
That's the number one thing. It's like, can you make a stock?
Every single night, my very last job was to put the stock on.
Yeah.
And every single morning, my first job was to strain the stock.
Take it off, and exactly. That was.
I remember I've still got those.
Fucking hell, mate.
Futura book that you get from TAFE. It's a whole book on stock soups and sauces that you needed to know.
I remember when I first seen a brat pan, and we got to make stocks in a brat pan.
In a brat pan.
And
hang on, just before can we just explain what a brat pan is?
It's just a massive pan.
It's the largest pan you've ever seen in your entire
couple of 100 litres, right? And it's like a huge roasting tray that's on a tilt. Now, it can either be electric or you wind it and it sort of tilts up.
So you can put it into a small
strain it. And I'm like, how good!
It's amazing.
I don't have to lift the pot. and you just wind it and you strain it and you don't have to lift anything. I'm like, this is gold.
But you need to be making 200 litres of stock at a time. That's the thing.
Yeah,
So
what I used to do is we used to make one pot and then just freeze it.
Freeze it, yeah.
Because it freezes perfectly.
The other thing is that most places don't have access to this though as well.
No,
so it's like
obviously.
it's one of those things where it's such a privilege when you've got a kitchen that has that kind of equipment, but it's generally making that kind of volume.
But mate, and apart from Harry's kitchen, because he spends more money fucking on a kitchen than any other human being that I know.
Hi, Harry.
But most kitchens it's just a pot, and all my kitchens was always just a 20-litre pot or a 40-litre, a big pot.
Big pot.
And jam all the bones in there. You get 10 litres of sauce out of it, and that 10 litres of beef stock will make you a couple of litres of beef jus.
Yeah.
And there was always, we used to use veal jus, we do chicken stock and fish stock, and we do a veggie stock once in a while. But that was the foundation of our kitchen, our cauldron. We would have an area of the cauldron that all it was stops.
And I think that's a very traditional way. You know, that's probably the French way, really, more than anything else.
And then the finished sauces, the jus, would be cryovac down into cryovac bags, 1 kilo cryovac bags in the freezer.
Yeah.
But we'd never touch a freezer stock because we used that in case we got in the shit.
Emergency. Yeah, exactly.
But we'd just be just rotating the fresh jus through, and it was the way to go. But again, anything to save some labour.
Absolutely.
And people go, oh, I can't buy that veal stock because it's fucking $30 a kilo. It's like, well, do the maths, because the maths will tell you the labour that's involved in making the stock, then the time, the gas, the fucking blah blah blah. Sometimes it's cheaper for you to do that.
Buy it in. And I think that's the thing is, like, again, if you choose the right quality from the right producer, there mightn't be too much of a loss.
And maybe you got to put more energy into the finish of it.
Exactly. So it's just moving your energy to something else, and you just don't have to worry about that anymore. So maybe you can, the finishing is even better.
I'll tell you something that I'll probably get fucking smashed for. Stokehouse Brisbane was a 2-hat restaurant.
Here's your sound grab.
It was this 2-hat restaurant. I was buying in chopped parsley.
Really?
Mm-hmm. For about 2 months, because this is you'll remember this. It was that time straight after the GFC where we just could not find any staff.
Yeah.
Like, it makes what the struggles we have now look ridiculous, right? And we'd put ads up and just not get a soul. So we were doing everything we could to try and minimise the labour that we needed in the kitchen. So now, was the chopped parsley perfect? No. We needed to run a knife through it to get it perfect.
Because it's machined, I'm guessing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it saved probably 20 minutes, half an hour, every day.
Yeah.
And I did the maths on it because the per kilo price was like, don't quote me on this, and it was the early thousands.
I'm not going to go back and look.
I think it was like $30, $32 a kilo. And you go, fuck, that's a lot for parsley. Do you know how much fucking parsley's in a kilo?
Of parsley is a shit ton of parsley.
I ordered a kilo of bay leaf once. That was a real fucking mistake.
You've still got it, I'm sure.
But to then run a knife through it, it's a 5-minute job.
Yeah.
Now, it was picked really well. I gave them the specs that I needed.
Yeah.
It was fucking great.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as we could bring that back in the kitchen, we did.
Yeah.
But when we didn't have any staff, it worked a treat.
Look at those options that are there.
Peeled golden shallots.
Yeah.
Was a treat.
You can turn potatoes. Like, there's things like that you can get. There's things that you can get from suppliers. So if you have, like, particularly in a fruit and veg, from a fruit and veg perspective, speak to your supplier.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not the right. Maybe you need to look at other suppliers, because there are certainly the big guys can do all this for you if you want, and they're really sort of hacks, I suppose, that people don't think of.
Prepared vegetables is a big game now. Like, it's a big industry.
Really?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, it is. So, and mate, whether or not you're buying your carrots in peeled or not, it doesn't make you a better or worse restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. Also, the consumer doesn't care.
No.
You know, if they were peeled here or they were peeled somewhere else. If the quality is still there and the product that they get on the plate is still the same, then it's a win.
Yeah, totally agree. So the takeaway from today, if you find yourself struggling, like many, many restaurants are, even if you just want to reach out and say hi, we're here for you. But if you need a little bit of advice, we may be able to point you in the right directions. And don't be embarrassed, or DM us if you want to. But chin up.
Yep.
We've got a couple of months before it's, or a month or so before it's Easter.
Yeah.
We've got 10 months until it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Say that out loud.
That's so ridiculous. I actually had a dream about this last night, thinking it was December. And I'm like, what the hell happened to the
Somebody
year?
said to me, it was yesterday, told me how many days to Christmas. I was nearly sick.
Dude, why have we even done that math? Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
Anyway.
Well, hopefully I've got 2 holidays before then. So, all right. Thank you, mate.
On you, mate.
Let's chat soon.
See you soon.